Hey, it's Fox from Inferno Fox Gaming. So, while I tend to lead a little bit more into Nintendo games and Nintendo properties, I've played my fair share of PlayStation games, going all the way back to the PS1. To that end, I wanted to talk about the PS4 and what I believe are the top 10 games for this fantastic system. One important note, though, to this is that these games are going to be what I think is best. That means only games that I've played and loved will be topping this list. And this also means that it's possible that the game may have appeared on another console or maybe an updated version of it on the PS5. Doesn't matter, this is totally my own experience with said game on the PS4. But enough rambling, let's jump right into it. And we're going to start with number 10, Resident Evil 2 Remake, released on January 25th, 2019. While horror games, they're usually my jam, and this is reflected in the number placement here and here only, I cannot deny just how great an experience that Resident Evil 2 Remake is. And it features the exploits of Leon and Claire as they explore the zombie and Mr. X-ridden Raccoon City. The OG on the PS1 and Nintendo 64 were great in their own times, and I am happy to say that this remake lives up to us old dogs' expectations. Now, why isn't Resident Evil 4 Remake on this list when it came out on the PS4 as well? Again, going back to my pre-note, I played it on the PS5, and to me, the PS5 experience is the superior one for that stellar entry. Number 9, Final Fantasy 15, released November 29th, 2016. I have a big soft spot for this Kingdom Hearts-like entry in my favorite video game series of all time. The first two-thirds of the game are really where this game excels, as we see Prince Noctis journeying with his 3 retainers and friends, road tripping and boy banding in Noctis' father's car across the world of Eos. And I've been on road trips before with my buddies, and I felt like this game managed to capture that feeling that you had riding in the car, listening to music, just BSing about nothing, all while seeing the sights of Americana, which also Eos managed to capture really well. The combat, again, is very much like Kingdom Hearts, and it's really more of an action RPG than any of the Final Fantasies before it, but I felt like it suited the overall tone and the game quite well. The last third of the game is, honestly though, quite a downer. Anything bad that could happen to Noctis does, including an ending that honestly still hurts to this day, especially after getting to know the main characters as we had them journeying across Eos. Number 8, Uncharted 4: A Thief's End, released on May 10th, 2016. My biggest problem that I have with the Uncharted series is that they often feel like nothing more than a very long feature-length movie wrapped around a series of QTEs, or QuickTime events. Push a button, proceed the story, maybe solve a puzzle, rinse and repeat. But even with this being the case, we get high-octane action set pieces that even after 15 plus years since the release of the first entry are awesome to behold. With this fourth entry, not only do we get more of these said action pieces, but we also get one of the most personal journeys for the main character, Nathan Drake, as not only are we seeing into his past, such as the introduction of his older brother Sam, but we also get a brief yet satisfying glimpse into the future in the eyes of his daughter Cassie. While stealth is not a favorite aspect of mine with video games, thankfully it's in there, but it's not a lot of it, so that was kind of a relief. And the gunplay, honestly, is also the best that I've experienced since the first entry. Number 7, Kingdom Hearts 3, released on January 29th, 2019. Like Final Fantasy 15, I've seen Kingdom Hearts 3 get a lot of hate online. And maybe people were upset with the whole Xehanort trilogy ending, thus seeing nearly 20 years of story come to an end. Or maybe it was the many delays that this game saw before it finally got released. But honestly, I don't really care because this game itself was excellent, both in execution of the story and the many gameplay elements. The game starts out with the player controlling Sora, which of course is a big course correction from how the second entry had started out. In Kingdom Hearts 2, this beginning part where the player controlled Roxas and not Sora felt almost as long as Final Fantasy VII's time in Midgar. And it was like, I felt like I just wanted the game to begin already, and I could only do that with Sora. And the idea that I'm controlling a player that I have no previous connection to just didn't really feel satisfying to me, at least during my first playthrough. And Kingdom Hearts 3 has a number of moments like this where there are course corrections, like where previous entries, such as the disastrous Dream Drop Distance, the gameplay aspects with that, where that failed, this third entry succeeds. And I also loved not only the worlds that they introduced via the Disney properties for Toy Story, Frozen, and Monsters, but each of these also managed to tell excellent cinematic stories too, and huge props to the Pirates of the Caribbean world for that especially. And each of these worlds, I've never seen these be as big as they are, especially compared to, again, the first two entries. And finally, regarding the gameplay, there were a large amount of like mini games and stuff, but it wasn't too much like how Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was. And the battle system merges the classic gameplay from the first two entries with enough that's new to keep everything fun. I still think Kingdom Hearts 2 is probably the best entry, and it sounds funny because I was giving it a hard time with the Roxas beginning, but with the first entry getting the number 2 spot by sheer nostalgia too, I think the third entry is a close third place for the best Kingdom Hearts games, and is one of the best PS4 games ever made. Number 6, Bloodstained: Ritual of the Night, released on June 18th, 2019. The term spiritual successor gets thrown around a lot in video games, with former Konami producer Koji Igarashi at the helm. Ritual of the Night truly is a successor to Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Not only does it feature a Metroidvania exploration of a castle backed by an RPG-like experience system for leveling up the main character, Miriam, it also adds in new things that Symphony did not have, like customization for Miriam's appearance, greater than just changing cloaks and whatnot and adding 1 pixel of height, as well as a myriad of side quests. There are a number of story beats and aspects that make Ritual maybe feel like it treads too much on Symphony of the Night, but I feel like that's more a loving homage than anything. And not only was the game produced by former Konami employees, it was composed by one too. We see Castlevania composer Michiru Yamane provide a stellar soundtrack to Ritual, one that is every bit of Castlevania in all but name, much like everything that Ritual of the Night is as well. Number 5, Doom Eternal, released on March 20th, 2020. That's a lot of 20s. I have a huge soft spot for the Doom series, as my oldest brother got me into the first entry back in the PC days in the early 90s. I played Doom Eternal at a time when I was dealing with a herniated disc injury in my neck, so when I wasn't able to go out and touch grass, I had Doom Eternal. While the multiplayer for this entry, featuring a Doomslayer fighting against 2 monsters all controlled by players, wasn't like Doom 2016's boilerplate PvP that you often see in first-person shooters. It is the single-player campaign that really is quite excellent. Not only does it continue the story from Doom 2016, we see the Doomslayer get his own space satellite home base, along with a number of upgrades there as well as for Doomslayer himself. The combat on a literal hell on Earth is rip and tear goodness we've seen with Doom 2016. Exploration, though, kind of feels more akin to something like Metroid Prime at times, with various abilities and upgrades to weapons, and again to Doomslayer's suit itself. Where Doom 2016 was a love letter to the first Doom entry, I feel like that's how Doom Eternal was with Doom 2, up to and including the story premise of Hell on Earth and the final boss of the Icon of Sin. Number 4, Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn, released on April 14th, 2014. One huge thing to keep in mind with the placement of this entry on this list is that it only includes my experience with the base game, none of the expansion packs. This is because my time with this entry includes finishing the entirety of the base game's content, and I did get a little bit into the first expansion pack, Heavensward, but then I stopped playing from there. I don't normally get into MMORPGs, but I'd heard that 14 was one of the best, and after a couple hours, I was hooked. The story, the music, characters, environments, and especially the exploration of Eorza are what really got me. The battles themselves felt like something similar to how like Final Fantasy XII ran, though without the gambits, and it was a lot more hands-on. My favorite part was exploring the various areas, like the plains of La Noscea, totally on my own, leveling up, battling monsters by myself, gaining items from various side quests I could do on my own as well. You noticing a trend? I don't like playing games with others. To progress the game forward, though, completing dungeons and raids with others unfortunately is required, though thankfully I found my time, again, playing with others to not be really oppressive at all, and really just engaging with others was generally pleasant. Now, I would love to journey back to Eorza with my character I modeled after my partner, Jamie Owls, though I would like to try it this time with friends. Does anybody want to join me at all? Number 3, Ghost of Tsushima, released on July 17th, 2020. Even as of the release of this video, I still believe this is one of the most cinematic and beautiful video games to have ever released, while also having peak graphics, all on the PS4. Seriously, this game would have made Akira Kurosawa so proud. Because, again, not only is it beautiful, the characters are very well acted with fantastic voicing, available both in English and Japanese. The music is ambient and beautiful as well, and the story is full of action, intrigue, and a few twists too. And thankfully, we do not have a situation where it's got a pretty veneer and nothing else. Final Fantasy XIII. This is because the system to engage in battles, from standard engagements against multiple enemies to a single one-on-one duel, continue to maintain attention while generally avoiding that feeling of sameness. And there are a number of options available to have the lead character, Jin Sakai, use stealth via shinobi-like techniques and abilities, but hey, you know me, I don't do stealth, so thankfully I was able to forego all that stealth bow jazz like 90% of the time. And I've heard others call this game Assassin's Creed Japan, and I feel like that sells this game short. And nothing against the Assassin's Creed series or anything, but their entries never had been able to capture my interest like Ghost of Tsushima did. Seriously, I loved my time exploring the island of Tsushima in Japan and just being able to find my next breeze of petals to take me to my next destination or following a fox. Ton of fun. Cannot recommend it enough. Number 2, Ys 8, Lacrimosa of Dana, released on September 12th, 2017. I had a very tough time ranking this and Ghost of Tsushima at anything but at the number 2 slot. Both games are absolutely incredible, and I had a blast playing them. But what puts Ys 8, Lacrimosa of Dana just above Ghost of Tsushima is just the overall fun factor, being that bit more fun. And the music, again, just being a little bit smidgen better. This Ys entry takes place immediately after the 5th one, chronologically, but we see our hero from this series of games get shipwrecked, which is a running joke within the Ys games. And he gets shipwrecked on a deserted island with other shipmates, and it turns out that this particular island is a lot more than it seems. While the story moves from beats out of movies like Castaway and 6 Days, 7 Nights, to even stuff like Jurassic Park, Ghost Ship, Timeline, and more, it's surrounded by a super fun action RPG combat system. With these different themes, we see Adol and more explore environments that can surprisingly differ from the Desert Island theme a fair bit, with many of them being really bright and colorful. And did I mention the music? You can always count on Nihon Falcom to have a banger soundtrack. I'm sort of a newer fan of the Ys series, seeing Adol through Shipwreck after Shipwreck and Waifu after Waifu since 2020 or so, but this is the best in the Ys series overall for a reason. Yet it's not the best PS4 game. That honor goes to Persona 5 Royal, released on March 31st, 2020. What a banger year 2020 was for the PS4. The original Persona 5 was fantastic, and it would have easily made the top 3 on this list. This is due to the fun turn-based battle system featuring a sort of rock, paper, scissors system of weaknesses that enemies, as well as your party members, that can be exploited. An engaging set of playable characters like Best Girl Makoto and interesting NPCs, and a fantastic and escalation-style story that sees our heroes take on a political demagogue, all wrapped in a visual style that could be seen through any high-quality anime, and a jazz-inspired soundtrack that has some real bangers. What puts Royal above the mark from the OG are a couple of quality of life changes, additional locations to explore in between, like doing story beats, and most especially deeper dives on existing characters, as well as a pair of new characters that add additional detail to the overarching story. Oh, and a whole new semester to explore once the OG's main game is complete, provided that we, the player, made sure to max out certain characters' social links. Like, seriously, I remember when I finished the game last time on the OG, and then with this, my characters were in the low 70s. How can there be more game to play? And yet there's a whole larger set of dungeons, a couple more months, and it was just crazy to sort of see that additional playability. It kind of felt like DLC, but not, but kind of. And it totally makes sense why there have been so many sequels and spin-offs featuring these characters, like Tactica and Strikers. But I think at this point, we're ready for the next entry in the fantastic Persona series. So, what am I missing? What am I missing from my list that you think belong here? Let me know in the comments section below. And let me bait you a little bit. Should I have included Red Dead Redemption 2 and The Last of Us? Sorry, I haven't played them. How about God of War 2018? Sorry again, I played it, got bored of it, stopped after a few hours. Maybe Until Dawn. My partner Jamie Owls might be mad that I didn't include this one, but I didn't play it because like I had mentioned with the number 10, not a big horror guy. And this list, as you can tell, was extremely subjective. But I am of the mind that the PS4 has a lot of bangers. Make sure you let me know in the comments section below what your favorite PS4 games are. Thanks again for watching, and have a great day.